Okay, so the next step in the process is to start installing the actual shingles. So now whether you got a good, better, or best quote, what you're going to get is an architectural or a laminated style shingle. So it's the new upgraded version of shingles. It's the same design of shingles that you see on almost all houses anymore these days. Unless you've got a designer shingle option where you wanted, that was something that you were interested in your quotes, your shingles will look essentially like this. Now, not all shingles are the exact same in the way that they're made. In fact, every manufacturer is a little bit different. There's all different warranties, and there's so much information on the, on that side of one manufacturer makes this better, and one manufacturer does this better. So we're tailoring, obviously, your estimates for your needs that we base off of your questionnaire. And then we're gonna, you'll notice that we have a very detailed breakdown on the warranties and all the differences in those shingles, so you can see those differences for yourself. But at the end of the day, the installation is really where the rubber meets the road. So I tell customers all the time, you can buy the most expensive, highest warranted, best shingle on the market, but if the nails aren't in the right place, if the flashing's not done correctly, if those installation techniques are not done well, the roof system's going to fail, and it's got nothing to do with the shingle. In fact, I would say 90% of the roofs that we replace, the shingle themselves has not worn out. The shingle still has 10 or 15 years left on it. What is wearing out are all the details. The nails are in the wrong place, or they're overdriven, or the flashings are wrong, or there wasn't enough underlayment or ventilation, or any of the other myriad of things within a roof system that were done poorly. And from the ground, you're not going to be able to tell a good roof from a bad roof. So we're going to make sure we check all those boxes. But for our purposes today, we're just going to be using a pretty standard black shingle. And I'll kind of show you how all the parts and the pieces go together. If you have material specific questions, please, that's why you have your project manager. He can help you work through that process and answer any of those material specific or warranty specific questions that you might have. So, first thing we're going to do is start lining these shingles up. Now, in the real world, for the starters, for the shingles, for everything, we're going to be measuring and popping lines to make sure everything is laser straight, 100% level, 100% perfect. In the spirit of just an informal training video on a Saturday so I can get back home to my wife and family, some of those steps I am going to skip, because at the end of the day, once I'm done putting this on, I'm just going to tear it back off. It's going to go in the trash. So this is information for you to see how it goes together. Now, I will say from the thousands of roofs I've installed, it's still going to be pretty straight, but I'm not going to worry about showing you how to actually pop the lines and measure it and all like that. If you really want to get good at measuring out a roof and installing a roof to that level, please send me your resume. We will train you to be one of the best roofers in America. Okay, so the shingle lines up, the first course lines up and is going to go, even with this. And then as we install shingles further, we will essentially stair step them back, which you'll see kind of in the sped up version as I do that. Again, the shingles, the next shingle is going to butt up here, so you can see again where that starter is going to protect that roof from where the next shingle butts into that bond line. And so as we're nailing, we got to make sure our nails are in the nail zone for the shingle. Every manufacturer has a little bit different version of that nail zone. On this shingle, it's between these two white lines, which means the nail has to go into that shingle in that zone. So we're putting 6 nails in every shingle, which is a coastal standard. Here in Richmond, we're not technically in a coastal standard, but we install everything to the absolute maximum of the manufacturer specification. So to that end, we would rather have too many nails in the shingle than not enough nails in the shingle. And we want to make sure those nails are where they're supposed to go. So the shingle, you get your first nail here, then you work your way back, so you give yourself a gap because the next shingle is going to lay in here. You do not. One of the things that we see that fails a roof system a lot is the nail, having a nail kind of in this zone right here. So when you have the next shingle come over, you have a nail in that bond line. That is a leak waiting to happen, and that is a very hard leak to find, because once this entire roof is installed, that's really truly a needle in a haystack. So putting the nails where they belong in the shingle is incredibly important, as well as installing them well to where they're not overpressured or underpressured or going in crooked. So yes, we've moved away. I had to be one of the last people in any market that was still hand driving nails. my grandfather was a stickler about that. But we're all using nail guns now, so but even using those nail guns, you know, you can buy the nicest nail guns and spend the most money on all that stuff. It really comes down to the art of using that nail gun. So it's something that, you know, that's the reason we use training mock-ups like this to work on the finer points of stuff like that. So we're going to make sure that the nails are where they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to be. So I'll install a few shingles so you can kind of see how that goes together. And then we'll stop and I'll talk about kind of, you know, show you where those nails are and talk about nail pressures and that kind of thing too.